Thanks very much, Chair, and thanks to our speakers for coming in, although I have to say I thought I was at the wrong meeting at the start, because this meeting is supposed to be about the right to asylum in Lithuania and Latvia, and a lot of the content of our speakers wasn't dealing with the vindication of that right, I thought. So just maybe following up on some of the points made by colleagues. I mean, our committee has visited both countries, have seen the situation on the ground. We know that in flagrant violation of EU law, Lithuania has legalised pushbacks. And I'd like a little bit more detail on that from Lithuania, but especially from the Commission. Now, I suppose, firstly, has Lithuania implemented the Court of Justice judgment from the 30th of December in 2022, where basically it was held that you were in violation of EU law by failing to grant asylum or allow people seek asylum if they had entered illegally. So entering irregularly has nothing got to do with undermining a person's right to seek asylum. Could we get an acknowledgement from everybody on the panel that that is the case, because that is international law, and the law that's been brought in Lithuania conflicts and violates that? So I'd like to know what the Commission is doing about that. I note that you said in answer to Tineke, well, sure, you're going to see how it goes in detail. I don't really think that that's good enough. I mean, if the law provides for, and it does, that border guards can refuse somebody access to asylum because they entered illegally and in an emergency, well, that's in violation of EU law. So what do you need to assess? It's pretty much black and white. So I'd like to know when you're going to start infringement proceedings on that. I'd like to know from Lithuania how many third country nationals weren't allowed to cross the border, their country of origin, where that issue is dealt with the relevant administrative authorities and so on. Where we can get those records. Last point is to support the point made by the SNDs about Olga Karach and others in that situation. You've said that, well, you welcome real opposition people from Belarus. That frightens me, to be honest. This woman is a known peace activist. She doesn't support the war. She's a peace activist and a conscientious objector who, if she gets sent back to Belarus, under the law, she's been accused of terrorism there for her anti-war activities, she could face the death penalty. And Lithuania has said that she's a national security risk? Seriously? I mean, you have a responsibility here to address and offer asylum to people who are conscientious objectors from Belarus, from Russia, peace activists, presumably. I find it pretty scary, to be honest. My just last point, for the Commission to open their remarks and talk about migrants and refugees as a hybrid threat, I find, frankly, very, very disappointing and unacceptable.
Okay, now I see a question from Monique Parret, DG Home. DG, if you will make your point.
Yes, thank you very much, Mrs. Daly. On your last point, I didn't say that migrants were a hybrid threat. I said that irregular border crossings were a hybrid threats. Okay? Well, I don't know.
It's migrants and refugees who are making the crossing.
I'm not talking. I never mentioned the word refugee.
Okay for a migrant to be a hybrid threat. I'm just trying to understand.
I never said migrants either.
Okay, but the people making the crossings are migrants and refugees.
Sorry. I think the situation, what we said and what I repeated in my intervention, I will repeat, is that the situation at the Belarusian border is a specific situation where we have indeed people crossing the border that can be considered as migrants or refugees. But there's also a situation where this situation is instrumentalized by hostile regimes, be it Belarusian or Russia. So that's what the situation is there. When it comes to the law, I will repeat what I said before. We have been since 2021 in discussion with all the 3 countries, I include Poland, on their legislations. We have pointed out what needs to be respected in this legislation. In the case of Lithuania, we've had very fruitful discussions that have led also to some modifications of the legislation. And I repeat that we need to see how this will be implemented in practice. And we reserve the right, indeed, to apply what the measures we have at our disposal, in particular infringement procedures, if need be. But first of all, we have to see in practice, and I have serious evidence that there are violations of human rights and that the right of asylum is refused. Some border crossing points are closed, others are open, and we have to see in practice how this functions. But I think we need also to take into account that we are at a border where we are 2 regimes, 2 countries that are at war with one European country and that may use, unfortunately, and I agree with you, people, vulnerable people, to destabilize the European Union. That said, this doesn't prevent the authorities, and we will make that respected, to respect the EU asylum acquis and fundamental rights. And I also repeated that is also a condition of the reimbursement of the financial support that we are granting to them. So we are monitoring the situation and we are in discussion with the countries to assess the situation. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Armavicius.
So thank you. Very similar answer. We amended the law on foreigners' legal status according to the European Court of Justice decision, and there is now possibility to apply application for asylum in the territory. As well, we amended State Border Act, the border protection law, with the exception on the border zone. So we keep in mind that what Monique Poiriat said, that we are in the proximity and the frontier with the countries like Russian Federation and Belarusian, when we need to be very, very vigilant. And despite small size of Lithuania, our borders prolong 1,000 kilometers. So it's a long perimeter, and therefore we need to protect the border, but with full respect. And for example, the physical barrier helps. Of course, it can be criticized, but that's such reality that physical barrier surveillance system significantly improved the situation in the border. We still have more than 1,000 attempts to enter, and some of them we are allowing to enter. So that's full scope of the situation. Regards Karachi, I did answer. It's not my decision. It's a decision of Lithuanian intelligence, and nothing threat for Olga Karachi. She can live on the humanitarian basis.